is up, awesome people, and welcome back to a more laid-back and casual series that I'm going to be starting up on my channel. That will be a podcast slash discussion series where I discuss upcoming video games or even previous video games that I've recently played or have played in the past, or anything interesting that I've stumbled across that I want to discuss and give my theories, and will share my theories with you guys and see what you guys think, or what you guys think in general about the topic. Alrighty, so I wanted to start my podcast or discussion series, whatever you guys want to call it, on the upcoming Super Smash Bros. Game for the Wii U and 3DS, since I have only just recently been reading into the Pokemon that will be featuring in the game itself, since we have to admit, for those who have played the Smash Bros. Series, that the Pokemon do really take up majority of the game. So there's quite a lot of Pokemon that come out of Pokeballs, plus the Pokemon that you can play as well. So and whether you like it or not, Pokemon does play quite a big role in the Smash Bros. Series. So originally I was going to go through and have a retrospective look on every Pokemon that has been in the Smash Bros. Series, but to have a look at them through the original game in like a detailed look, and until the more recent release, which would be the one for Wii U and 3DS, it was going to be like a 2-hour video, so I may do something like that later on for like my future discussions or something like that. So I've decided to just focus on the Pokemon that will be coming out for the Wii U and 3DS version. So in this discussion I'll be probably mostly looking at the Pokemon that have been announced, and some other Pokemon that I have a theory will probably be released, and we go through what I think their role will be, like their attack or how they'll play in the game, and any interesting stuff that I will pick up from just looking at the screenshots that we've been given so far. Alrighty, so the first Pokemon that I want to have a look at is Meowth. So Meowth has been in the Smash Bros. Series ever since the original Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64. So Meowth's move is Payday. It's always been Payday. The only difference really that has been to Meowth since the original series is I think in the Nintendo 64 series, Meowth's Payday was actually in a full 360 radius, whereas I think after that in Melee and Brawl and the Wii U version, from what we can see in the screenshot, is Meowth will actually face one way, and it looks like he can almost do like a 45-degree radius for Payday and just shoot it straight forward and just shoot it like nearby foes, which does make Payday pretty easy to avoid and deal quite a lot of damage as well for anyone who gets too close to Payday. So really, that's really all for Meowth. It hasn't really changed too much since the previous games at all. So the next Pokemon that we've been given a screenshot to is again another reoccurring Pokemon from the series, is Electrode. So Electrode did make a feature in the original Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64. It wasn't actually a Pokeball Pokemon back in the original series. It was actually a stage hazard for Saffron City, where it would pop out of the door for Silph Co and then just explode, dealing 30% damage and knockback damage. Well, quite a lot of knockback damage, and almost KOing anyone with a high percentage already. And I think after that, I think in Melee it became a Pokeball Pokemon. So again, Electrode really hasn't changed much. It still explodes whenever it's summoned from the Pokeball, and any player caught within the blast radius does get that nasty damage and knockback damage as well. But I think if you're away from ground zero, which is where obviously Electrode explodes, I think you take less damage, where the closer you were to ground zero, the more damage and knockback you take. I think in Brawl though, a new mechanic that was added to Electrode was you can actually pick him up, and he would act the same way as like one of the Smash boxes, I think they were called. You could pick him up and then throw him at people. But I think in the Nintendo Direct for Smash Brothers, they actually showed one of the characters picking up Electrode, and he looked a lot lighter and he walked a little bit faster, and when you threw him, he went a lot faster than what he did in Brawl, that's for sure. So I think in the new Smash Brothers, Electrode's a lot lighter, and as I said, isn't as heavy as he was in Brawl. So that is probably the only change I've actually seen to Electrode so far. So that's pretty interesting. So as I said, it's pretty interesting to see how much of a effect this will actually have on the game. So next up again is another Pokemon that's made multiple appearances in the Smash Bros. Series since the Nintendo 64, and that of course is Goldeen. So it's pretty funny. Goldeen's attack is Splash, so a lot of players who think Splash, the best candidate for Splash is of course Magikarp, so it's quite funny that Goldeen's been the main splashing role for the Smash Brothers series and hasn't been changed to Magikarp at all, so I do find that funny to even this day. Still does no damage of course, so yay, it's still the dud Pokemon, so not really much I can say about Goldeen at all, so let's move on to the next Pokemon, which is Staryu. So it looks like Staryu hasn't really changed much at all. In the original Smash Brothers, it was actually Starmie who played this role with Swift, so would appear and choose a person at random and start attacking them with Swift, so it actually became Staryu and Melee, and then continued on from there, which was, I don't know, that was a bit of a surprise, honestly, for me, since I would have thought they would have kept with Starmie, but oh well. Starmie, Staryu, they do the exact same thing anyway. So yeah, really, as I said, it just chooses a player at random and just starts using Swift. Not really much has changed for Staryu at all. I think it's just got really much of a, just a revamped and more, well, graphic design really, that's all it's been revamped for Staryu really. And not much to say, so we move on to a new Pokemon that's yet to be seen in the Smash Brothers series, and that is Eevee. So, Eevee's pretty interesting. All it, like, in the Nintendo Direct, all we see is Eevee, jumping to the side and using Tackle and doing significant amount of damage to the player, whoever's, close by, so there's not really much known about Eevee as of yet. I'm kind of wondering, since Eevee really is the fan favourite for this series, so since it is known for its evolution, so obviously it's got Flareon, Vaporeon, Jolteon, Umbreon, Espeon, and then we have Leafeon, Glaceon, and of course the new Sylveon. Sorry if I did pronounce that wrong. I'll get comments about that now. So it has me wondering if Eevee will incorporate its evolution or Eevee evolutions into the game. So the only way I could think of that happening, like, this is just a theory, like, if it was to incorporate all its Eevee evolutions, it'd be probably going by location. So let's just say if it was like a frozen location, like the Ice Climbers location in Brawl, it would get like Glaceon. If it's like a grassy location, I can't think of any locations at the moment that are like quite grassy, you'd get like Leafeon. Water locations like the pirate ship from Wind Waker from Brawl, you get Vaporeon. Something like the Pyrosphere for Metroid, you get Flareon. If it's a stage that appears at night, you get Umbreon. Stage during a day, you get Espeon. Stuff like that would affect the Eevee evolutions. I'm not too sure if they're going to incorporate the Eevee evolutions at all, but if they were, that's probably one way of doing it, but I'm not too sure what they're going to do with Eevee. But at the moment, all we know is Eevee can just tackle and do a significant amount of damage. That's all we know so far, so I don't know, they may incorporate the Eevee evolutions, they may not. It's still quite interesting. If they do, that would be really cool, but if they don't, then oh well, it's cool because we've got a new Pokemon that we haven't seen before, so yeah, I'm going to leave that topic alone and just move on to the next Pokemon. So next up is, again, another Pokemon we've seen since the original Smash Brothers, and that is Snorlax. So Snorlax hasn't changed at all. All it does is jumps high up off the screen and then comes down and destroys everything really in its path. So it can set off bombs. I'm pretty sure it can still set off bombs and motion sensors and all that, and then deal massive amount of damage to anyone besides the summoner as it comes down. So since it hasn't really made much difference, we'll move on to again another Pokemon that's been in the entire series so far, and that is Mew. So again, Mew's attack is fly. All it really does is appear on screen for a little bit and then it flies off. I think in Melee and Brawl, when it appeared, it actually dropped trophies, I think, and then flew off. And if you did it in a campaign or something, you actually got points for it. For I think it was like the title of Mew Catcher. I know that's what it was in the original Smash Brothers. Not too sure about the other ones, but it'll be most likely the same effect again for the new Smash Brothers. It'll probably just drop like trophies or something and just fly off, and you'll get rewarded for just at least seeing it. Just like random trivia as well, for those who didn't actually know, back in the original Smash Brothers, it was actually 1 in 151 chance of seeing, getting a Mew from a Pokeball, which was ironically the amount of Pokemon in the Pokédex at the time. So, bit of trivia for those who didn't actually know. Right, so next up is Bellossom. So Bellossom made its first appearance in Super Smash Bros. Melee, so not really much has changed for Bellossom. It uses Sleep Powder, which puts any nearby player to sleep for a short period of time. So it wasn't like a stage-wide effect, it was just a particular radius, I think, that would fall asleep to Sleep Powder. And yeah, that's really all I can really say about Bellossom. It hasn't changed from what I've seen, so let's move on to the next Pokemon, which is Entei. So again, Entei appeared in Melee, and its move is Fire Spin. So I think again it's in a particular radius. It will create a vortex of fire around it and lure foes in and shoot them upwards, repeatedly damaging them. So it's quite a nasty attack indeed, and it can be quite easily avoided if you just stay away from Entei. Really, besides from that, I don't think there's really much more I can add to Entei, since again it really hasn't changed much from the previous games at all. And with that, we'll move on to Lugia. So Lugia appeared in Melee, I'm pretty sure. I know it appeared in Brawl. So when Lugia comes out, it actually flies into the background and then unleashes Aeroblast onto the field, which is like this massive wave of waves on that, and it actually deals quite a lot of damage. I think it does knockback damage as well if you get hit from it as well. It's quite a devastating move, to be honest, too. So just judging from the screenshot, not really much has changed about Lugia again. So I'll move on to the next Pokemon, which is Metagross. So Metagross appeared in Melee, and its move is actually Earthquake. So if you got too close to Metagross, it actually buried you into the ground or smashed you into the ground, which did make you quite vulnerable. And at the same time, you did deal Metagross did deal damage to you as well. So so it seems like with its move used in Smash Bros. Brawl, it uses the move Earthquake, which will send any nearby opponents flying upwards. Okay, I thought then, I'm pretty sure Metagross used to bury them. I could be wrong, but from what I'm reading here, it actually sent them upwards. So it's either going to bury you or send you upwards, depending on where you stand as in the radius of Metagross. So again, since Metagross really hasn't changed, I'll move on to the next Pokemon, which is Latios. So Latios appeared in, what are you, Hoenn? So you would be in Brawl, since Melee was up to 2nd gen and Brawl was up to 4th gen. So Latios' move was Metal Steel Wings. So when it appeared onto the field, it would I think it would like randomly swipe through the stage and just attacking people from all different angles. So you didn't really know where Latios was going to strike when it came onto the field. So yeah, another Pokemon that was very similar to Latios was Latios, which did I'm pretty sure the exact same thing. So it's pretty strange that Latios hasn't been announced yet. Latios has been announced, so it does make me wonder if Latios will be announced as well, or if they're going to leave Latios out, since it does the exact same thing as Latios. So, yeah, I guess, same thing again, not much has really changed for Latios, for those who have played the original Smash Brothers Brawl. So, I'll move on to the next Pokemon, which is Deoxys. So, Deoxys was in Brawl, and when Deoxys came onto the field, it actually jumped up into the air and then released Hyper Beam as its move, which sent a massive energy beam down onto the opponents and dealt quite a lot of nasty damage. As we all know, Hyper Beam is quite a powerful move. So, it seems like not much has really changed for Deoxys in the new Smash Brothers, so again, I'll leave this one alone and just move on to one that has become a new Pokemon, a Pokeball Pokemon, which is Palkia. So in in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Palkia was actually a stage hazard in Spear Pillar. So whenever it came, or actually whenever it appeared in Spear Pillar, it would use Spatial Rend, and then it would actually turn the stage in a particular degree. So I can either turn the stage by 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 90 degrees or 180 degrees, which did make it quite irritating. It's pretty surprising that it's pretty surprising actually to see Palkia as a Pokeball Pokemon. The reason why they haven't made Dialga a Pokeball Pokemon, in my honest opinion, is because there's already an item that does a similar thing to Dialga, so it would be a little bit redundant, to be honest, to bring Dialga as a Pokeball Pokemon. Since all Dialga did, I think, just remembering back to Brawl, was slow down time or speed it up. So whenever it came to the field, it would be using Roar of Time. So when it did that, you'd either slow down and be moving at 50% speed, or you'd speed up and do 200% speed, which is exactly what I think it's a stopwatch item does. So, to my knowledge, there's no other item that works similar to Palkia, so that'd be my reason why they've chosen Palkia. So it's going to be interesting seeing Palkia as a Pokeball Pokemon, and definitely one to be feared, since it can actually irritate a lot of players, because since you've got to quickly adapt to the whatever degree the stage has been turned to. So it can really turn the tide of the game quite quickly. Alrighty, so next up is another new Pokemon that we haven't seen before, and that is Darkrai. So, judging from the screenshot here that we've got of Darkrai, it'd be using a special move, Dark Void, definitely, which will put, I'm guessing it will put nearby characters to sleep for a short amount of time. Be very similar to how Bellossom works with Sleep Powder. Judging also by the screenshot there, it may even turn the screen dark for a short amount of time as well while Darkrai is on the field. It also does make me wonder if they'll incorporate Darkrai's ability Bad Dreams into it as well. So whenever it uses Dark Void, will the players also be taking damage as well thanks to the Bad Dreams ability, which is what we see in the mainstream games as well. So that'll be pretty interesting if they incorporate that as well. We haven't exactly seen if any damage is taken while they're asleep, so that may be something we may look forward to, or may not look forward to, depending on which side you're, or what position you're in, if you're the one who's asleep. But yeah, I'm actually pretty interested to see if they do incorporate Bad Dreams. It'd be really cool, because that would make it more unique to Bellossom. Otherwise, we've got two Pokemon that put people to sleep, and in my honest opinion, that is a bit redundant. So I guess we'll find out in either upcoming updates or when the game does come out. So yeah, Darkrai is definitely a Pokemon I am looking forward to seeing in action. So next up we have Arceus, who is making its first appearance as well. So from what we know so far, Arceus is quite OP, like it is in the mainstream games as well, which is no irony at all. So Arceus allows it to any player that has been in mid-air, it can actually do Meteor Smashes too, so Arceus is definitely one to be feared. So if you're in mid-air while Arceus is out, you'll be Meteor Smashed and KO'd, which is scary. I think from what I saw in the direct, we didn't actually get to see this in full motion. It looked like Arceus sent out 2 waves and then it disappeared. So 2 waves of Meteor Smashing and then disappearing. But usually with Nintendo games like this, it's usually waves of 3. So if it is waves of 3, then damn it, nerf this thing. This is really strong. So yeah, I have mixed emotions about this. I mean, it'd be really cool if you were the one to summon Arceus, and then all you have to do is just throw your opponents and then just watch Arceus Meteor Smash them. Otherwise, if you're on the receiving end, then hope to God, or hope to Arceus, that you don't get thrown and Meteor Smashed by this thing. Rightio, so next up we have another Pokemon who is making its first debut in this series, and that is Victini. So at the moment, not too much is known about Victini. My theory for Victini is it's going to work kind of similar to how Ho-Oh worked, which is, again, another Pokemon I quite find interesting that hasn't been announced yet, is Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh in Brawl, it would use Sacred Fire, which I suppose kind of worked very similar to Entei's Fire Spin. It would just do like this massive wall of fire and deal lots of damage and sending the players upwards. So if Ho-Oh by some strange reason isn't released in the game, I would assume Victini would do the same with either V-Create or Searing Shot. One of the two, like, they're the only 2 moves I could see Victini using. We don't actually get to see much about Victini, and so really it's all up in the air for theories and what Victini is going to do. But in my honest opinion, but this is, as I said, this is just a theory, but I can see Victini almost working the same way as Ho-Oh, in since we do see Victini going to the air, make a pose, and then it may attack from there. Who knows what it's going to do, so I don't know, we'll find out later on what Victini is going to be doing. Alrighty, so next up is, again, another new appearance, which is Kyurem. So, Kyurem worked very similar to how Suicune worked. I think Suicune and Articuno worked in Brawl. So, Suicune was the Brawl one, and Articuno was a melee. Damn it, I'm getting my Pokemon mixed up. Oh, so anyways, whenever Kyurem comes onto the field, it actually freezes any nearby opponents that touch it, or as caught in the radius of the cold waves that are sent out from it. So that would be Glacier, I think, or Glacier or Blizzard, one of the 2. So it can be quite a devastating move, actually. So if you are caught in Kyurem's waves, you'd be frozen and completely vulnerable to any attack, really. So someone can come up and just smash you, which is quite scary. So, I don't know, I can see Kyurem quite easily avoided if you just stay away from the radius of its attack. Otherwise, pray to Arceus you don't get smashed. Right, so not really much can be really said about Kyurem, so I'll just move on to Keldeo. And Keldeo is quite unique. It's using, I'm pretty sure it's using Secret Sword, or some type of sword attack. So from what we saw in the Super Smash Bros. Direct, it actually launches, jumps up, and it actually extends its horn into a sword and starts slashing people. It looks pretty powerful, actually, and may deal quite a lot of knockback damage as well. So, as I'm just reading here, it's, the move is Secret Sword, and it jumps up and strikes any nearby foe with its horns. So, yeah, this could be quite powerful and quite devastating. So, again, probably another Pokemon to stay away from if and ever it comes onto the field. So next up is Meloetta. So Meloetta, from what I saw in the Nintendo Direct, it works better in moves like Palutina's Temple, I think that's what it's called. Anywhere that's quite enclosed, since Meloetta's attack I'm not too sure what its attack is, to be honest. Maybe Relic Song. It's probably the only move I could think that would match the description of this attack. But when Meloetta attacks, it actually sends out musical notes, and they'll actually bounce off the walls. And if you get caught in the musical notes, they actually deal damage and will send you about. So in open stages like Final Destination or anything like that, I can definitely see Meloetta not being much of a threat, but anywhere close, like as I said for Palutena's Temple, down like in the part where there's like very enclosed corridors, if Meloetta's used down there, I consider that being a massive threat, dealing quite a lot of damage. So yeah, I guess Meloetta is quite of a situational Pokemon indeed. So yeah, that's really all I gotta really say about Meloetta. Is, yeah, not really much to really say there. As I said, it's quite situational. So yeah, let's move on to our next Pokemon, which is Chespin. So not much is known about Chespin at the moment. We've only seen screenshots of Chespin. So I've kind of got theories at the moment that Chespin, well, my original theory was it was going to do Nidolarm, but I forgot. Chespin doesn't learn Nidolarm until it's a Chestnut. So my other thoughts was it could go for Vine Whip. It may have been, I'm actually leaning towards Bullet Seed, to be honest, for Chespin's attack. So yeah, again, not really much known about Chespin. So as I said, Bullet Seed really is a theory. So I don't know, I actually want to hear what you guys think as well on any Pokemon that we don't know much about as well. So if you guys have theories about Victini, I'd like to know as well. So make sure to leave them in the comments below as well. So next up is Fennekin. So the move Fennekin uses is Ember. So it launches out a fire move. Actually, an easier way to explain Fennekin is it'd be like PK Fire for Nez. It would launch out a move and then just deal fire damage on the spot and do a bit of damage. That's probably what I gathered from the Nintendo Direct for Fennekin. So yeah, it's easily compared to Nez's PK Fire. Alright, so next is Spewpa. So not much again is known about Spewpa. We've only seen screenshots of it. I've actually got a theory that it's actually the new Bonsly that we saw in Brawls. So if you picked up Bonsly, you actually could throw it at other players and deal quite a lot of damage. So that could be one use for Spewpa. The other theory I've got for Spewpa is it could actually use String Shot and slow people down. Like, we haven't actually seen a move that slows people down. So we've got like the bunny ears to speed people up. So it'd be really interesting if Spewpa actually used String Shot and slow people down, so that would be pretty funny. But that's one theory. The other theory is, of course, the Bonsly theory. It could be the new Bonsly, just pick up and throw it at people. Either way, it'd be still pretty funny to see. Right, so next is Gogoat. So Gogoat works similar to how it works in Luminous City for X and Y. You actually jump on its back and ride it. So I'm not too sure if whoever summons it can actually ride it, or if it's anyone who can actually jump on its back and ride it. So in the screenshot here, we can actually see Mario just riding on the back of Gogoat and using his water cutter thing and just squirting people. I would assume that if anyone gets in the road of Gogoat, they'll actually take knockback damage. And the other one is, will Gogoat just ride straight off the edge, or will it actually turn around and run back? So yeah, it's pretty interesting there. We haven't really seen too much about Gogoat, but I would assume that it's just a summoner who can ride on the back of Gogoat and then ride it, while anyone gets in the way of Gogoat will take knockback damage, and then it will just like turn around once it gets to the edge and run back. It seriously cannot be a Blastoise who just knocks itself off the edge, surely. Anyways, next up is Dedenne, or Dedenne, the most useless Pokemon in X and Y well, most useless fairy type that I've known so far. So, in the screenshot here, Dedenne's doing some work there with some nice electric work there. So Dedenne was one of the Generation 6 Pokemon that came out, that was introduced just before this game came out, and it's a classic Pokeball Pokemon. When sent out, it sends out 4 bolts of electricity to damage. Alright, so originally I thought Dedenne would maybe use something like Thunder Wave or Nuzzle, but that doesn't seem the case since it does say it does deal some damage. So it does look like it's just using like Thunderbolt or something. So yeah, it'd be quite interesting to see how Dedenne works. So my theory kind of got just squashed there after just reading that bit of information. So yeah, maybe Dedenne's not all that useless in this Smash Brothers after all. So it leads us to the last Pokemon that we've been shown, and that is Xerneas. So it looks like it's using Geomancy in the Direct, but we don't exactly know what it's going to do. So it could be various things. It could protect people. It could heal players who are in the circle. Although Geomancy in the X and Y series, it did raise special attack, special defense, and speed, so it'd be very interesting if it did give the summoner a buff, if that's the case. There isn't actually anything in Smash Bros. At the moment to give buffs like that, so if that is the case, if it works the same way as it does in the mainstream games, that would be pretty devastating and one to be feared. So, at least it's not using Moonblast. I'd be a bit more afraid of Xerneas if it was using Moonblast. But, again, it's kind of in the air what Geomancy does. I mean, as I said, it could give buffs, it could heal, it could protect. Who knows? Alrighty, so that's all the Pokemon that's been announced to us as of yet. There is one more thing that I wanted to bring up that I found quite interesting, and that is just looking back at the reveal for Greninja and Charizard. So for those who watched the reveal for Charizard and Greninja would remember the opening scene where there's a whole bunch of Pokeballs being thrown and Pokemon start appearing onto the field, and then it goes up and shows Charizard. If you actually slow down that little motion there, you'll actually start seeing all the Pokemon that have been shown so far, as well as a few other Pokemon that have not been mentioned. So my theory is the Pokemon that have been shown in this little scene will actually be in the game. So if that is the case, there are a few other Pokemon that we can look at. So we have... who have we got? In the main, like in the scene where we're seeing Charizard and Pikachu on the cliff, there is a few Pokemon of mention that we need to point at, and the first one is actually Swirlix. Now Swirlix, it's very interesting. I'm actually leaning towards Swirlix, since it is the cotton candy Pokemon, to actually bring like cotton candy to the field, so play it like as a recovery item, so players can recover something like a more supporty Pokemon, kind of like a party ball item from Brawl. I do remember, I'm pretty sure there was a Pokemon who did something like that. It may have been Chansey, I can't remember. But regardless, that could be one thing Swirlix can do. The other one that it could probably do is something like Fairy Wind or something. Just something like a wind and just damage all players on the stage. Again, not so much like it's, as I said, this is all just speculation, but I want to lead more towards the cotton candy theory, that it just brings cotton candy to the field so people can eat it and get recovery. That would be pretty awesome if it did that, and just live up to the cotton candy Pokemon Pokédex entry, because that would be really cool. But if we are to play more realistic on the lines of what it does in the game, then it probably would most likely be Fairy Wind. It doesn't learn Moonblast until it's a bloody evolved form thingamajiggy. Sorry, I've forgotten its name already. But yeah, as I said, that's all speculation for Swirlix. The next Pokemon that we see in this the little cutscene is Snivy or Snivy. So pretty interesting. Like, I could probably see Snivy going for something like Leaf Tornado or Leaf Storm, since Snivy is kind of more well known for those two moves. It could probably go for Vine Whip, but I would probably most likely lean towards Leaf Tornado or Leaf Storm as its main move. Another Pokemon of mention in the cutscene is the return of Togepi. So Togepi actually worked like Clefairy from the old games. It would use Metronome and summon out a random move. So it could be pretty interesting seeing Togepi act just like Arceus and meteor smashing people who are mid-air. It could be turning into a Darkrai and using Dark Void on people. So we're seeing a return of Togepi, which is quite scary. That little egg causing trouble, please nerf it. So anyways, there are a few other Pokemon as well. We have... who do we have? We have, just at the start as well, just before Snivy's release, we've got Oshawott. So I could almost see Oshawott working very similar to what Piplup did in Brawl. It could use Surf, or it could even use Razor Shell, come up and just like slash people with the shell on its stomach. I'm actually leaning towards that since Oshawott's line is well known for Razor Shell, so that could probably may well be Oshawott's signature move in Smash Brothers. So again, we don't actually know at this point in time, so this is a speculation. Another Pokemon coming back to the series is Gardevoir. So Gardevoir in Brawl, it would use Light Screen, or I think it was Light Screen, which stopped all projectiles from hurting the player inside of the Light Screen. So it's nice seeing a return of Gardevoir. Another Pokemon that is making its debut in the game is Giratina, we see. So right in the background there is Giratina. So not too much, well, actually it'd be very interesting to see what Giratina does. I'm got a theory that Giratina may do what it does in the Distortion world. It may actually do something very similar to Palkia, really. It could actually turn... it may give a vertigo effect, so people may be walking upside down, or the stage may flip over, something like that. It may even go for Shadow Force, which is its signature move in the mainstream games, so it could even like launch a powerful, like something like Latios, really, just come from the side and just like use Shadow Force and people. Screen will go dark as well, so swiping to and from the screens. I don't know. As I said, these are just theories. Again, really like to know what you guys think. Another unique Pokemon is Zoroark. So just in the opening scenes there, we actually see Zoroark. So Zoroark can actually, Zora's ability is, I think, Imposter, so allows it to transform into any the first Pokemon in your team, I do believe, and then play as that Pokemon. So it could actually work like that. It may transform into the person who summoned Zoroark and then go around, and it would work like a computer-controlled player and just start attacking people, and it would actually confuse the other people into thinking that would actually be you, and then they start attacking it. Kind of like how the Ice Climbers worked, how one was being controlled by an NPC, and they had to kill the person, like the main Ice Climbers, to actually kill you. If they kill the other Ice Climber, then it wouldn't count as a KO at all. So Zoroark may work the same way like that. Another Pokemon you can see in the background there is Kyogre. So Kyogre is making a return. So Kyogre used, I'm pretty sure it used like Surf or Hydro Pump, but it would summon like a big wave of water and just deal damage. So if Kyogre is making a return, so does that mean Groudon's making a return? Not too sure. Same thing with Latios. Like as I question, is Latios making a return to this series? We haven't actually seen those Pokemon as of yet, and they don't actually make an appearance in the opening scene. So that's probably a Pokemon to be looking out for. Another Pokemon making a return is Suicune. So Suicune's move was Aurora Beam, which froze anyone within a certain radius, or really anyone just nearby Suicune. So again, that's making an appearance. And we have Mew returning as well, as I said. And we have last Pokemon that has been announced yet is Entei. So it'd be pretty interesting to see what Entei does. I'm assuming it's going to be using Topsy-Turvy as its move, so it'll flip the stage upside down, so again similar to how Palkia would work, and you'd have to work with the screen being turned 180 degrees, which I can actually see kind of happening since you do have to turn the 3DS upside down to evolve Entei anyway, so it is leaning towards having to turn the screen upside down when Entei is summoned. Or it may even go for the more obscure attack, and as the name would suggest, it would spill ink everywhere like Spewpa, but that's kind of just going more out there really. I would lean towards the screen being turned 180 degrees upside down. So yeah, that's all the Pokeball Pokemon that we'll see so far that we know of for the upcoming Super Smash Bros. Game for 3DS and Wii U. So all the Pokemon I mentioned at the end there that was seen in the reveal trailer, when as I said, I'm not 100% sure if these Pokemon will make an appearance in the game itself, but so far, since a lot of the Pokemon that have been announced, have been shown in that scene, are in the game, it is pretty likely that they will appear in the game, so I will make a safe assumption that they'll be in the game. And as I said, all of the theories that I came up with are just theories. Don't quote me for it. So yeah, if any of you guys got a theory on how some of those unknown Pokemon will work, make sure to leave a comment in the comment section below, and I just want to hear what theories you guys come up with as well, and what you guys think of the announced Pokemon so far. As I said, I definitely would be leaning towards Arceus being quite OP. All the legendary Pokemon will be in the Master Ball, and all the non-legendary Pokemon will be in Pokeball. So with these new Pokemon, definitely the legendary Pokemon for Master Ball, it will definitely make the struggle to get the item and use them more of a struggle, and indeed quite threatening as well. So if you don't get a Master Ball, you know you're going to be in for some massive hurting. So yeah, so that's the end of this discussion video. So I didn't actually think it'd go for this long, but at least it's not going for 2 hours like my original idea was going to go for. So I hope you guys enjoyed this long-winded discussion. As I said, I wasn't expecting to go for this long, so for those who stuck around for 40 minutes, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. So my final words are, as I said, if you guys got any theories, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. I know I'm being quite redundant about that, but as I said, I really want to hear what you guys think about this as well, and what you guys think of the Pokemon. And if you guys have got any ideas or any Pokemon that you want to see as a Pokeball Pokemon, I know I want to see Mightyena, but I'm not too sure what Mightyena could do, besides from maybe biting the nearby opponents. I'm not too sure, but that's about the only thing Mightyena could do, so I could kind of see why Mightyena wouldn't be a very viable Pokeball Pokemon. But yeah, if there's a Pokemon, or your favourite Pokemon that you'd like to see as a Pokeball Pokemon, make sure to mention that as well, or any other theories that you have on Pokemon that have been mentioned in this discussion video at all. So that about wraps it all up. So until the next discussion video or my next video, this is Lady KrimZen saying ciao for now, but not forever. Ciao!